Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the court of the EDI Jester. Hello, good peeps. What have I got for you today? Well, subscribe, and get notifications so when I'm going to have a wibble, you'll know when my wibbling will commence, the commencement of wibbling, right? So here we go, right? You will have noticed, you will have seen, you will have been purview too, a video of a bunch of mad TQ plus Fruit Loops, right? Fruit and Nut Loops. Everyone's a fruit and nut case. Do you remember that? Advertising for Cadbury's, wasn't it? La 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 la. Oh, I should have to try and find that. I need that as a, underlying audio for something I'm doing. Everyone's a fruit and nut case. Okay. There was a video that was put up by these QT lunatics, right? Which was them chanting, right? It was in New York City, drag march, right? Where they were shouting, "We're coming for your children," right? That's going to help, innit? What were they thinking? Right, what's the plan today then in our activism? I don't know. I'll ask. Tarquin, what are we doing today? Oh, today. What we're going to do is we're going to dress up, have our titties out, and possibly our dicks, and we're going to wobble them and shout, "We're coming for your children." I think that will have a real impact. We're coming for your children. We're coming for your children. We're doing what? We're coming for your children. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that, Tarquin? Well, obviously it'll have a huge impact on the heteronormativity of the family. It'll have a huge impact on the heteronormativity of the family. I don't know. Well, he seems to know. We'll follow him then, all right? So how does it go? We're here. We're queer. We're coming for your children. Well, Tarquin, thank you for that inspirational idea. Tarquin, you bastard. Right, so that's essentially what they did, right? So this has gone up, this video, and everybody's like, "Oh my lord, oh my god, this is disgraceful," which of course it is, because it's not just disgraceful, it's true. And they don't know it's true. That's the irony here, right? Is they don't know it's true. They think that they're being provocative. So it's like, we used to say years ago, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." Right? Because that was part of the sort of 80s, 90s milieu. That's not this. And there was a Pride March where they were going through the Arndale in Manchester years ago where they shouted, "We're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping." So I can see echoes of historical actions in this, but they're saying this because they do not believe that people think they are coming for the children. And they don't realise that all the evidence is pointing to the fact that they have the harm of gender, for example, yeah, and queer theory in schools. So they're oblivious to the fact that what they're chanting reinforces the very problem that they've caused. Thick as Tarquin, you're a thicko, right? Tarquin. So, "We're coming for your children," chant at New York City drag march elicits outrage, but activists say it's taken out of context. Hang on a second. "We're coming for your children." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, and they've been taken out of context. They have been taken out of context, right? But it's the context of that. So they don't think what they're doing is anything but provocative. They don't realise the seriousness of what they're doing because they don't realise that children are being harmed. Thick as mince, right? So, over the weekend, this is by Tyler Kincaid in June. Over the weekend, a short video circulated widely, I was right first time actually, on the social media of an unidentified person at a New York City March Pride Festival saying, "We're coming for your children." In the 21-second clip circulated by right-wing web streamer channels, this right-wing web, please be laugh. Dozens of people march in the streets and are clearly heard chanting. Heard being the operative word, H-E-R-D, I think. "We're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping." But one voice that is louder than the crowd is not clear whose or whether the speaker was a member of the LGBTQ hands, knees and bumps of daisy people, is heard saying at least twice, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children." So what's happening is do we have somebody who's actually an activist against that nonsense who's saying this? "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children." To be ironic about the fact that they are shouting, we're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping. But to Brian Griffin, the original organiser of the New York City Drag March, if that's the worst they heard, it's only because he wasn't there this year. Griffin said he chanted obscene things like this in the past, like kill, 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 we're coming to kill the mayor, and joked about pubic hair and sex toys during marches. People at the drag march regularly sing, God is a lesbian. It's all just words, Griffin said. It's all presented to fulfill their worst stereotypes of us. Absolutely surreal. Griffin, who is, this Brian Griffin, the organiser, is acutely unaware of what's going on in the rest of the world. Acutely unaware. Doesn't know. It's all just words, right? Now, God is a lesbian. Yeah, right. So what? There's a lot of women that will go, damn right. Right, okay, God is a lesbian. Kill, kill, kill. We're coming to kill the mayor. Right? Fine. Okay, that's all right. Nobody thinks you're going to kill the mayor. Right, okay, that's fine. Because there is nobody out there going or teaching in schools killing the mayor is a good idea, right? Well, there's nobody out there teaching people in schools that God actually is a lesbian, or enforcing them to talk about God as a lesbian, or enforcing them, for example, to be part of killing the mayor. They are completely unaware that that one line of 5 words, we are coming for your 5 or 6, we are coming for your children, we are coming for your 6 words. They don't get it, right? They don't understand that coming for your children chant has been used for years at Pride events. No, it hasn't. According to long-time march attendees and gay rights activists who said it is one of the many provocative expressions used to regain control of slurs against LGBTQ people. Not true. Not true. Not true in the slightest. I've been to, dozens of Pride events over my lifetime. No, never heard it. Well, I'm in the UK, maybe in the US it was a different thing, I don't know, but I doubt it. You imagine we'd have got where we were, acceptance, equality, we'd have got where we were if we'd have gone around saying, we just want to be treated as the same. We don't want to be treated unequally, we want to be treated fairly. Oh, but one caveat, we're coming for your children. Really? So what he said is, it's to regain control of slurs, and in this case they said right-wing activists are jumping on a single video to weaponise an out-of-context remark to further stigmatise the queer community. Really? Right, okay, because queer theory, Judith Butler, wasn't that in, when she spoke to Owen Jones, wasn't that specifically about breaking down the boundaries between adult and children? This is surreal. This is surreal. They are so cemented in their ideology that they haven't even looked one connection down to the Judith Butler interview with Owen Jones, where she specifically states that queer theory is about breaking down the boundaries between adult and childhood. And then they go out and shout, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. Wow. That is just extraordinary. It's not cognitive dissonance. It is literally ideological ignorance. They haven't even looked to see what's going on. Conservative politicians and pundits. Well, I'm a bit of a pundit, I think, aren't I? Am I a pundit? That's an American word. Am I a pundit? That's today's question. I'm certainly not a conservative politician. I don't see myself as particularly right-wing or particularly left-wing. I'm pretty much a, lily-livered liberal in most ways, right? They've increasingly referred to advocates for LGBTQ rights as groomers, associating with people who oppose laws that restrict drag performances or classroom discussion of gender identity with paedophiles. I can't get my head around this. We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children, and it's conservative politicians and pundits. So they think that they're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children is an oppositional, sort of satirical method to poke fun at what they think is a small group of people that are associating them with paedophiles. When in fact, it's the founder of their queer organisations and their queer nonsense like Judith Butler and Gail Rubin who explicitly say they want to have sex with children. Rubin does. Rubin certainly does. So they don't understand their own movement, is what I'm saying here. These people they don't mean we're coming for your children in a sexual sense. And I've mentioned this before, right? Okay, we have to be careful with this one because if you're not careful, this swamps everything, right? This swamps everything. Now, there are people out there who want to have sex with their children. We know this, right? Okay, not your children particularly. If you've never seen Brass Eye, for God's sake, watch it. It's on YouTube. If you've never seen the Brass Eye's paedophile special, go and bloody watch it and get your head around it, all right? Because that brilliantly exposes what happens when we focus on the sexual side of things against all others. We can't do that, and neither should the right do that. That's my advice to the right, is don't do that either. And the reason you shouldn't do that is because the biggest threat by far to childhood is not that To the children, that may be it. But to childhood, it is not that. The biggest threat to childhood is the queer movement and the gender movement want to obfuscate reality. They want to make people believe this all exists and is real, and they want to make them live a miserable life in which nothing is secure and nothing decided. So we have to be very careful about conflating those two things. They think that's what's happening. People are calling them pedos because of what they're doing. Well, that's what's happening. The right doing that or the left doing that, whoever it is that's doing it and calling out. That's what's happening. But that's obviously a huge problem, but it is not the underlying problem. If they manage to get the thought processes of queer theory and gender identity ideology into children's minds, then not to have sex as a child will become unthinkable. Focus on the root cause here, because that gets headlines, doesn't it? They're all pedos. It gets headlines, but it won't change a thing. That's what we've got to be careful of. And of course, there's been so much of this screaming about paedophilia that people become tired. Right? So they'll go, oh God, it's just the same old stuff. And then we begin to see cohesion broken because there's been so many mistakes made in this arena in the past. Stick to what we know. And what we know is that gender identity ideology and queer theory are a no-no in schools, certainly. It should not be practiced, and it should be taught for the nonsense it is. It can be seen to be nonsense by children. They're not fools. So what they're saying is that this... They're conflating the T and the Q with the LGB again, but bear in mind this has got nothing to do with gay people. But somebody has said here that the quip has been taken out of context. And I think they're right. I think we have taken it out of context, right? But why have we taken it out of context, right? Because we see a distinct threat to children that they don't. So when they say, well, we're here, coming for your children, they don't understand the impact that has on the people who are better informed than they are. What I'm saying essentially is that somewhere there are villages missing lots of idiots. So it's really scary to us, said Fussy Lomine, a drag performer and activist who was at this year's march. It declined to give their real name because of safety concerns. You bet. It doesn't represent everybody. It represents that individual. I thought it was a dumb idea, and I started chanting on top of it with alternative verses. So they can't even agree with themselves whether or not Tarquin was right. The video elicited outrage from right-wing pundits who called the marchers demonic and evil. We've seen this. Mind you, they were walking around with a banner saying Satanists here. Because they're doing so in a rarefied atmosphere. And they do not understand that people have looked and found the evidence wanting for all this and are very concerned for their children. An organiser for this year's drag march, known as Huckleberry Ken, who also performs in drag as Sister Lottie Da, declined an interview request. No photos. Declined an interview. No thank you, don't speak to me. Similarly citing fears of for his safety in light of the backlash and over the video clip. But he said in an email that coming for your children chant was a bad joke that is being used to serve the interests of parasitic, predatory political propaganda and policy. They literally don't get it. Go and have a read. It's really interesting. But my point that I'm trying to make to you here is this. What we're seeing is a reaction to a reaction, both of which are confused, right? I don't think they meant we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. Literally. I think they meant we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children to say, yeah, like, now this has happened before. There was a mistake by some weird choir in San Francisco did the same thing. Are you all mad, you Americans? I know this not to be true because I have American warrior teachers and they're wonderful. So there's some confusion here, right? Don't get your knickers in a bunch about it, right? Because it is something that happens. Obviously, it's an indicator that there is a confusion in communication. These people don't understand the real damage that's being done to children and the real damage that's being done to young people and the real damage that's being done to the gay and lesbian community by these TQ plus nutters, nor do they want to understand it. So by all means, exploit it to its fullest extent and show them up for what they are. But don't think for 1 second that rabid frothing on the other end by the right is the answer to it. It's not. It's not, folks. Right? It doesn't. They'll use it. Oh, they're all pedos, they're all perverts, and they'll tar everybody with the same brush, including gay and lesbian people. Don't do it. All right? So let's try to think about where we are with other people's understanding. And I would say that these people don't understand because they are ignorant of this. We've got MPs in Parliament voting down child safeguarding because they're ignorant of this, right? That people have to put their heads in the sand. And somebody said to me the other night, why do they have to put their head in the sand? Because we are asking them to destroy their view of the world, because they honestly believe that they're good people who live in good times. We do live in good times, but there are good people who are, who care for people in the right way, and they can't possibly imagine that they've hitched their trolley to a disgusting bandwagon that sterilizes, medicalizes, and sexualizes children. That's why they can't back down. They can't, because then it means they're bad, and they've got to deal with the fact that they've made a huge, terrible, life-changing mistake. And that, ladies and germs, is really hard to do. Anyway, enough guff. See you later.